Hi everyone, I'm Pratima, and every year when a new flagship phone launches, the one thing I get the most excited about is, you guessed it right, the cameras. But honestly, for the past few years, I have been nothing but disappointed with brands like Apple, Samsung, and even Google. On the flip side, Chinese brands like Xiaomi, Vivo, and Oppo have been experimenting with innovative camera features year after year. For instance, last year Xiaomi 14 Ultra's tele-macro camera was such a refreshing addition among all the other brands that merely added autofocus to their ultra-wide cameras for macros. Likewise, while every other brand focused solely on making their primary camera stronger, Vivo took a bold step by using a 200-megapixel telephoto lens for portraits and macros, and it turned out to be the best decision. That, combined with Vivo's great color science as a result of their collaboration with Zeiss, was loved by everyone. In fact, the Vivo X200 Pro till date is my favorite smartphone for photography. Now, photography is the focus word here because no matter how good the primary or zoom photos from the Vivo X200 Pro or the Xiaomi 15 Ultra were, they always lacked in a few other aspects such as videography and even the ultra-wide cameras. I've actually said it in all of my camera comparisons, there was a significant gap between the OG flagships and the newbie flagships in those particular areas. But everything has changed with this phone, the Vivo X200 Ultra. My team and I have been testing it for a better part of 2 months now. We have almost 150 GB worth of photos and videos on this guy, and every time we compare it with a different flagship camera phone, we are more and more impressed with it. And with the X200 Ultra, I truly feel like the gap between the original flagship camera phones and the new challengers is closing fast. So is it safe to say that Chinese brands are now leading when it comes to smartphone cameras? Well, it's certainly starting to look that way, and after testing the Vivo X200 Ultra's cameras alongside the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, the S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I have gathered 5 points why Vivo could be leading the camera game right now. Okay, first of all, we have to understand the general rule of thumb that has been followed by all mobile brands for years now. There's always a primary camera that's 23 to 24 mm wide, which is the main shooter, packed with all the best features, top-tier sensors, and delivers the highest image quality. Then brands like to go with an ultra-wide lens that's nowhere near as good as the primary camera, mostly treated as secondary with a noticeably inferior sensor. And then there's the third camera, usually a telephoto or a periscope lens for portraits and zoom shots. And the funny thing is, almost every single brand to this day blindly follows this formula. No one is or was complaining about it until Vivo thought of something creative with their latest launch. With the Vivo X200 Ultra, Vivo eliminated all the primary, secondary camera facade, and here on this phone, all three cameras are main cameras. There's a 35mm equivalent 50-megapixel Sony LYT-818 sensor, another 14mm for ultra-wide photos which uses the same Sony LYT-818 sensor as the 35mm wide lens, and a 200-megapixel telephoto Samsung HP9 sensor with an equivalent focal length of 85mm. Hence, all of these three cameras here have an equal standing. Now, what this means is you will get as good an image from the ultra-wide lens as the 35mm lens or the telephoto lens for that matter. And the first thing I want to discuss here is the ultra-wide lens on the Vivo X200 Ultra is really good. It is as good as the wide camera when it comes to color processing, detail retention, dynamic range processing, everything. As I explained before, the wide and the ultra-wide lenses having an equal standing is very rare. Now, technically, the ultra-wide sensor has an f2.0 aperture compared to a wider f1.69 on the 35mm lens, but unless it's a really difficult image to process, the output is just as good from the ultra-wide lens as well. In fact, I compared its ultra-wide camera with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra's ultra-wide cameras, and you can see Vivo's true-to-life colors and good dynamic range just stands out. X200 Ultra's images also have better detail retention, it preserves the texture in things like clouds better, and the main thing is highlight management, which is not only better than the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, but even the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which has one of the best ultra-wide cameras right now. Only tiny thing to nitpick here is that the iPhone is still a bit wider than the X200 Ultra. Otherwise, in terms of quality, Vivo's ultra-wide camera is top-notch. Anyway, one of the other things that I've got to appreciate is this new 35mm lens that gives a whole different perspective to photos. Now, each photographer's perspective is different. Each one has their own favorite focal length for shooting, but in general, street and travel photographers really appreciate the 35mm focal length because it's closer to the perspective of the human eye. It's like you're shooting what you're seeing. And even when I need to shoot a wider picture, I can simply switch to the ultra-wide mode. There is no loss in details or quality, and for everyday general situations, the 35mm lens offers a slightly tighter, more focused frame that still feels incredibly natural. Here, check out some of the 35mm shots I clicked from the Vivo X200 Ultra against the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. The closer framing adds an impressive sense of depth and dimension to the subjects. Now, another standout feature from Vivo is its exceptional color rendition. It really shows how well Zeiss and Vivo have put in the effort to provide a great color science that isn't too unnecessarily punchy or less vibrant. It's just the right amount that looks really pleasing. Not to forget, Vivo's collaboration with Zeiss speaks for itself in terms of glare control during daytime and especially during nighttime across all three lenses. Zeiss uses something called T-star coating that works wonderfully to reduce the glare, and you can get clean images without distractions. This is something brands like Apple, Samsung, and even Xiaomi need to work on, like big time. The next thing that Vivo has changed is the way portrait photos are rendered and processed. Last year with the X100 Ultra, Vivo introduced a 200 megapixel 85mm telephoto lens, which basically solved two problems. Number one, you could zoom in as much as you want and not lose details on the subject's face thanks to the higher 200 megapixel resolution camera. And number two, you got so many focal length options, meaning you could shoot at 3.7x or 6x or 10x and get great subject focus, again without losing details. And with the collaboration with Zeiss, the color science is exceptionally well tuned. Like with iPhones, you get a predominant yellow tone. With Samsung, you get a bright and contrasty output. With Oppo, the smoothing is just too much, but what Vivo does is make the subject's skin softer, but it does not mess with the texture and sharpness. And this 200 megapixel portrait lens on the X200 Ultra is really fast, which means if you are a street photographer, you can capture beautiful portraits even as your subjects move. On the other hand, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, which uses the same 200 megapixel lens, really requires you to stay still. It requires the subject to stay completely still as well, otherwise the photos come out shaky. The same goes for the zoom and macro shots, both handled by this same 200 megapixel camera. Check out these samples. You can go really close while maintaining good proximity with the subjects, and you can still get a crisp shot along with a natural and a nice shallow depth of field. Although credit where credit's due, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra's macros from its dedicated 3x telephoto lens have their own charm. That punchy color output, larger focus area, and the precision of details is commendable here. At a glance, almost everyone would choose Xiaomi over any other brand, I think, even Vivo. But again, I do appreciate Vivo for giving a lot of focal length options, and not to forget, Vivo also sells a photography kit separately that includes a zoom lens and a battery pack with which it offers magnification up to 200mm over its 85mm telephoto lens. I haven't used it personally, but from the images that I have seen on social media, I must say it's pretty impressive. Finally, if you follow me on social media, you might know that I use the iPhone 16 Pro to shoot all of my video content because till date I hadn't gotten the kind of stabilization and the versatility in videos with any other smartphone camera except the iPhone. But along with the upgraded lenses and the bigger sensors, turns out Vivo has upgraded the videography aspect on the X200 Ultra too. Like if you check these samples between the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the X200 Ultra, you will actually see better glare management, better color reproduction, and similar stabilization, whether it is during broad daylight, at good lighting conditions, or even during night. Especially if you see the ultra-wide videos at night, Vivo's videos are super clean, noise-free, sharp, and have even better stabilization than the iPhone. To be fair, again, the iPhone's ultra-wide videos are wider, but Vivo just maintains better sharpness around the edges and stands out with a good quality video. Vivo also offers 4K 120fps video recording support from all of its lenses, whether it's the wide, ultra-wide or telephoto. For context, Samsung and iPhone only support 4K 120fps recording from its primary camera. Vivo even allows you to shoot portrait videos from its telephoto lens, and the output is quite stable with a natural looking blur and great skin tone. Other brands only allow shooting portrait videos from their main camera, which really limits one's perspective. I even like the audio quality from the X200 Ultra's microphones better. It sounds really crisp, has good separation between lows, highs and mids, and sounds really rich in general. Whose audio do you prefer? Do let me know in the comments below. But again, I did find the 16 Pro Max doing two things better than Vivo. Number one, you get more stable slow-mos. Like with Vivo at 4K 120fps, there is no EIS, so the footage is shaky when you move. And number two, the different audio modes that the iPhone camera app has is just amazing. It cuts out the noise and the voice focus is so damn impressive. It's basically the 4 studio quality microphones and software that the iPhone has optimized better. But all in all, seriously, it's hard to find a camera phone as complete as the X200 Ultra. This is hands down the best camera phone of 2025, miles ahead of the competition. So please share this video with your friends who still think Apple or Samsung makes the best camera phones, or send it to that one techie annoying friend who keeps saying, but the iPhone still has the best videos. What the Chinese phone makers are doing right now is that they aren't just competing, they are innovating, which has not been the case for Apple and Samsung for a very long time. With the X200 Ultra, Vivo has proven that all 3 lenses can be true main cameras, each delivering top-tier results. Unfortunately, the Vivo X200 Ultra won't be launching globally, but if the rumors are true, the upcoming Vivo X300 Pro that's set for a global release might carry the same DNA. That could redefine how we think about mobile photography altogether. So is it finally time for Apple and Samsung to be nervous? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Alright everyone, that was all for our full in-depth camera review of the Vivo X200 Ultra. If you had to choose a flagship camera phone for yourself, which one would you go for? Do let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications icon. Saying this, I'm Pratima and thank you so much for watching.